and let us all do we can to build a better future.
But we are going to move on now to our next segment, and that has to deal with, well, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. How to even really cover this, because it's interesting. Well, it's from the New York Post. We'll take it with a grain of salt, but it really sets something up in regards towards how the Democrats, especially the progressive Democrats, have lost touch with who they are and how they got into power, or how they even rose to where they're at now. Now, the thing is, apparently AOC, Bronx Queens District offices open in-person services just twice a week. Now, I understand there's still a pandemic going on, of course, social distance and being safe, but again, for somebody who ran as a champion of the people, accessibility is key, especially when it stand out compared to your other colleagues. So, guess this self-proclaimed woman of the people thinks they are best served from afar, which is what we've noticed from a lot of politicians, both Democrat and Republican. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez New York City district offices are still open for in-person constituent services on Mondays and Wednesdays, even as municipal workers, school kids have been back at their desks full-time for months. The other 3 weekdays, AOC's district office appointments are held virtually, which is, again, I understand. It's understandable. It's a sharp contrast to the 14 New York congressional members out of 29 whose offices are open Monday through Friday and comes after Hurricane Ida wreaked havoc on our constituents. So again, if especially here, so let's actually stop right there. And I want to look at it. Her staff should be here more often, especially for people affected by Ida. There's no excuse to the retired school social worker Marcia Grubman. The storm flooded the basement of the 66-year-old retiree's co-op and knocked out elevators. Grumman, who's disabled, was stuck in her home for days. So that's an issue that we're seeing with the Democratic establishment, with AOC, and how, again, there's a lack of being able to connect with voters. So what does this mean in the long run? Well, looking at her constituents, there seems to be a pushback and anger towards a lack of interaction. So AOC does have a lot to answer for the fact that she is choosing not to engage or either having her offices open for 2 days. You ran as someone that's going to bring the ruckus and change the way we view politics. If you're starting to hide in the ivory tower or doing virtual town hall meetings, you need to amp up virtual town hall meetings or virtual meetings in general so that people know what you're doing, what is happening, so that they can remain in constant communication. Because in a major metropolis like the city of New York, especially someone who ran as a democratic socialist, you have to speak with the people. You have to remain on point on it. And knowing how we've seen the inaction from a lot of progressive lawmakers during this past year, it's setting a recipe for disaster for the Democrats in the next midterm election cycle that, again, 2022, just right around the corner. That's the midterm election cycle. And progressive Democrats, corporate Democrats are walking into a slaughter. How many voters actually feel confident in the Democratic establishment when we've really got nothing? This infrastructure package that's being gutted, progressives not really holding the Democratic establishment's feet to the fire. This will devastate the Democratic Party, especially 2022, when the election cycle is happening, because the Democrats haven't really given us anything. And the people who we expected to raise the ruckus, this just seems just like another, well, mark on AOC's career. And again, I keep on bringing this up, but there is that video evidence. There's that video, again, on the congressional floor where AOC is crying as Nancy Pelosi is bullying her to change her no vote to a present. That doesn't install confidence, and especially when, with her lack of appearance for forced to vote for Medicare for all, or even the forced to vote for 15, or even not even acknowledge the March for Medicare for all, Democrats, progressive Democrats, who ran to bring in change, how are you going to inspire voters to turn out if you're not even communicating with them in the first place? Before we end this segment here, I just want everyone to understand that AOC has been getting a lot of heat for not paying enough attention to her constituents. It's one thing to go to gala events. It's one thing to be popular on social media. But if you're not using your large base of followers the fight for real progressive policy issues. Why are you in office? If you're not interacting with your supporters, if you're not even using this huge social media following that you have, what are you doing and why are you still in power? Is it to play cover for the Democratic Party that's already walking into a disaster for the next midterm election cycle? Because if that's the case, the Democrats will never be able to repeat what they've done in 2018. And especially any kind of progressive movement, Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, good luck. Because voters are tired of being burnt out. And at the end of the day, I'll leave this final note here. We can't rely on politicians to save us. I know, like all of us, we were very excited when AOC got elected in office. Same thing for all these little progressive lawmakers. But if you want to bring in change, it's got to come from the people. No debate. It's got to come from the people and the people first.